But I want to get back to the shape of the fountain itself. Although it's dedicated to Horace and Son, the shape of it highly resembles the ancient Egyptian goddess Nut and her husband Geb. Nut is venerated as the sky, Geb is the earth and the mounds, and they actually describe this pool as the mound-like pool. And of course, the sacred symbol of Nut was the ladder to heaven, used by Osiris to enter the heavenly skies. Osiris can be linked to the constellation of Orion, which we're comparing this fountain to be symbolic of the middle belt star. Now, Nut and Geb, they had 5 children on occasion: Isis, Osiris, Nephthys, Set, and Horace the Elder. Horace the Elder. So the Noguchi realized, the son of Noguchi realized he was incorporating all of this Egyptian symbolism within this one fountain, within a plaza that was aligned to the Giza pyramids. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I came across this quote that may help to explain exactly what Noguchi was doing, albeit consciously or not. And this is from Graham Hancock and Robert Duvall's book, Talismans, Secret Faiths, Secret Cities. And they discuss in this book what we're talking about today, sacred architecture. But they're talking about mostly London and Paris. They have no clue about Stargate Detroit, but listen to what they say. There are numerous exhortations calling upon initiates to make copies on the earth of a region of the sky called the Duat, incorporating the constellation of Orion, associated with the god Osiris, and the star Sirius, associated with the goddess Isis. This was the sky region believed to be the location of the ancient Egyptian netherworld, where souls journeyed and were judged after death. It was therefore thought to be vitally important to gain foreknowledge of it and of the trials that await the soul there. So we learn from what is in the book of the Duat. One way to attain this gnosis was to build copies on the ground of the hidden circle of the Duat in the body of Noah. Well, that's exactly what he did. He perceivably built a copy on the ground of the hidden circle of the Duat in the body of Noah. Exactly what Noguchi did. Now we're going to follow Horace Dodge, some of his Dodge automobile symbolism. What came out of him and his brother's automobile company. Really, they followed Chrysler a little bit. They kind of merge into the same family tree. So we'll start off with the original symbol of the Dodge brothers, the hexagram. Of course it was. And the hexagram can be symbolic of a lot of different things. Seal of Solomon, Star of David, even the Merkaba, our ascension vehicle. But in alchemy, in particular, the 2 opposing triangles of the hexagram represented the reconciliation of opposites, the reconciliation of fire and water. And if you notice their symbol, it's either always in fire or water. So it makes you wonder, could they also have been interested in alchemy? And it's also interesting that the Dodge brothers come up with this symbol to drive around in the street layout with the same symbolism which was created 100 years previously. I mean, just imagine that symbolism. We have streets laid out with the hexagram, and cars driving around those streets with hexagram hood ornaments. The symbolism just shows up everywhere here in Detroit. And of course, Chrysler, over time, stylizes her hood ornaments and symbols of the Egyptian stylized wings, highly similar to Isis. And of course, very familiar symbol, the pentastar up top. And Chrysler actually redesigned their symbol in 2007. If you look close at the pentastar up top, you notice that the pentagram isn't closed at the points of the stars. It's still open. It's an unfinished symbol. 2007, they finally completed and finished this symbol. And of course, once again, same symbolism that Augustus Woodward incorporated into the street layouts. And how does this happen? How does this happen? The same symbolism that was originally intended for the city design emerges in the cars that are going to drive around on those streets. It's almost as if the symbolism may have been destined for the streets of Detroit. Quite a literal way, I think. Alright, we're going to get back to Hart Plaza, and to correlate with the final pyramid in Giza, we have a pyramid in Hart Plaza. It's not, don't go too far for symbolism, it's an actual pyramid. There's signs pointing to it, saying the pyramid's this way, and well, there's my buddy Carl on top of the pyramid. And to ancient Egyptian pyramids, well, they're gateways to the stars, stargates. But ziggurats, step pyramids like this, these are many times considered dwelling places of the gods. So of course we have a dwelling place of the gods here at Hart Plaza. I mean, why wouldn't we? Now the final correlation, the Giza correlation. I mentioned there's a causeway which leads to the Sphinx in Giza. Well, here there's a causeway that leads from the Horace and Sun Fountain to the pylon, also done by Sama Noguchi. This was a companion piece to the Horace and Sun Fountain. And in his own words, he said this is symbolic of, well, it was done by nature originally. You could call it the wind, relates to the atmosphere, wind, space flight, and all aspirations we have today. So in the guy's own words, he's telling us what's going on down here. Space flight. Right at the entrance to Hart Plaza is a monument symbolic of our aspirations in space flight. And of course, this companion piece, the Horace and Sun Fountain, was symbolic of outer space. These are cosmic temples where we can walk in the shadows of the sky gods. And Freddie Silva's pointed out, Horace, Detroit's own Birdman, Horace was after all the god of the sky. To walk in the footsteps of Horace was to reach for the sky and to be bright like the sun. And all across the world, the temples of the gods were designed so that the initiate, us, could be transformed into a god or into a bright star. And I think that's what it's all about. So let's talk a little bit about Mr. Osamu Noguchi. What was he thinking down here? Was it intentional, unconscious, maybe a little bit of both? Well, Noguchi, there's no place that says, I came to Detroit and made this park to correlate to the Giza pyramids. But he had just returned from a 2-year pilgrimage around the world, and he spent most of his time at the pyramids. This is actually his wife up on the camera. Noguchi didn't like pictures of himself that much. And well, when Noguchi returns from Egypt, he has his first opportunity to create a plaza. He made monuments before, but his first park was Hart Plaza. Well, we end up with this park that's correlated to the pyramids. Like I mentioned though, Noguchi, he never said this out and out that he was doing this. So is it possible it could have been a little unconscious? Well, he did another piece of artwork back in 1947 again. That could lend credence to this. And it was known to be called The Face to be Seen from Mars. And this is 1947. Osamu Noguchi proposed to build this huge earthen structure. It's going to be 1 mile long, half-mile wide. Its nose was going to reach into the sky 1 mile. Pillar of a nose, 1 mile tall. So big that, well, it would only be recognizable from the distance of the moon or possibly Mars. Hence the name, The Face to be Seen from Mars. And well, what Noguchi, he's a Japanese-American artist, what he intended by this in 1947 was if we were to destroy ourselves in a nuclear holocaust, back in those days we were testing bombs and stuff, well, the extraterrestrials would be able to recognize that at one time there was a civilized race on planet Earth. Not sure how civilized if we actually blew ourselves up in a nuclear holocaust, but, you know, incredible idea by Mr. Noguchi. Now remember, this is 1947. So this is where it gets interesting. 30 years later, NASA sent images back from Mars, depicting what they call a face on Mars. When you put the face on Mars, discovered in the 70s next to Noguchi's face on Mars, designed in the 40s, they're almost identical. Almost identical. Symbolically speaking, they are. So it begs the question, where did Noguchi get this information? Could he have